talked about this before, but if you really want to hurt your feelings, I need y'all to scroll back on like your Walmart orders, your Instacart orders, as far back as you can go, and watch how much groceries and different items have gone up. So I did Target a couple months ago, and I was just in shock by like how everyday common folk day things that I typically used to buy has gone up so much. Now, we all know that using Instacart, regardless if it was 3 years ago or even now, has always been a luxury. I ain't gonna lie, I was one of those girlies that was like, I'm gonna use Instacart, especially pickup, because pickup used to be free. Now, sometimes they charge you. But let's look at this order from back September 1st, 2020. As you guys can see, I picked up 5 items. I had the pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls, pumpkin spice creamer, 12 dozen eggs, or just a dozen eggs rather, some lunch meat and bread. And as you guys can see, the item total came to $14.97, and I paid 30 cents in tax, and it ended up being $15.27. Completely reasonable when you think about it. And if I didn't mention this was at Publix, which means I could have went to Walmart and probably spent about $5 to $6 less, but it is what it is. Now let's see what those groceries cost today. The only thing that was different on here is I could not find the exact pumpkin spice not creamer, what's the thing called? Cinnamon rolls. So I just put regular cinnamon rolls. I have the pumpkin spice creamer, I have the eggs, I have the lunch meat, and I have the bread. Do y'all see this? Subtotal is $27.99. So we've already gone $11 over for the same items. Instacart is being petty, charging a pickup fee of $3.99. And here's the thing, I wouldn't even mind the pickup fee if that was given to the shoppers. I am also an Instacart shopper, and I know for a fact that that's not given, but okay. Service fee is free. And then I also have $2.35. So that's what made it comes to $30. But this would have been $32. And for what? Let's be real.
So we just got like a shitload of great news last week. Except for that one thing that could end our economy as we know it, but other than that, stay tuned, I'll tell you more about that one at the end. Hey, I'm John B. I give you the hacks for mortgage and media, that's why you follow me. The first good news is we're not headed for a housing market crash. In fact, the Case-Shiller report just showed that we hit all-time highs for home prices. Now this is mostly because there's just more buyers than there are sellers right now, but we're going to take a win where we can. Then the Federal Reserve decided to keep rates where they are rather than increasing. See, we've been getting hit or miss numbers on inflation, which is what they're trying to curb with these rate hikes. But they decided to hold off on another increase for now and see how things shake out. More good news, the jobs report showed that hiring slowed down even more than expected. Now, I know that sounds like a bad thing, but hear me out. See, when job growth slows, it means that the economy might also be slowing down, which means inflation could be slowing down even more, and we're that much closer to the Federal Reserve dropping interest rates. And with all of this wonderful news, interest rates really dropped this week. We were all the way up at 8% on Monday, and now we're below 7.4, which in the mortgage world is basically unheard of. We also set a record for our credit scores. The average is now 718, and it's never been that high before. That means people are making payments and keeping up with their debt. But that's only half the story. Remember that world-ending thing I was talking about? Not only do we have the highest credit scores ever, we also have the highest debt we've ever seen. As a nation, we just surpassed $1 trillion in credit card debt. And our average credit utilization has been going up significantly over the last year. Now here's where it gets really scary. See, we don't just have record debt, it's also at a record interest rate. Rates are in the low 20s, and that could mean that more people are making just the minimum payment, which means debt could continue to rack up and cause more strain on households. This gets especially scary if we start seeing people lose jobs and the unemployment rate go up, which the Federal Reserve said it's 100% willing to do. So if a recession really does hit, this could be a big culprit, one that could affect the economy for years in the future. But let's stay positive and assume that this massive weight hanging over our heads is not going to drop anytime soon. So relax, soak in the good news, and follow me for more updates.
I'm getting a feeling we're going to be bucking the trend at the end of this podcast, but my gut feeling is they shouldn't move. Whether they will or not is another matter, but my gut feeling is that they should not move. They should wait.
And wait, yes. And in fact, because inflation is coming down, the economy is slowing, and you don't want to have your fingerprints on a recession if you're the RBA.
Especially if you're the new RBA.
My conclusion is they don't need to hike, but of course it's a personal decision from RBA Governor Bullock and her board.
People are looking to her saying, you're a leader. I don't know, but what do you think they're going to say?
And the person who's got arguably one of the most important economic jobs in the country. Her decision to hike, keep them steady, has big implications for people's well-being. Another 25-point hike is that, the straw that breaks the camel's back for some people. Some people are, scrounging around, cutting, as I said, cutting back their expenditure on nice things and trying to just meet their mortgage repayments. Another rate hike, another 25 basis points on, $500,000-$700,000 mortgage is serious money for a lot of people.
Totally.
And that's her decision. And she's alert to that. But if they're detecting that the labour market's weakening, it just works ever so slightly against another rate hike. And I think that's what Michelle Bullock will be looking at and thinking about when she sits down with her board.
Christmas is going to be absolutely awful for many Americans, so what exactly can you do to prepare for December? Now, many of you already know why Christmas will be so bad this year. One, because people are clean out of savings. And not only is credit card debt at all-time highs according to the Government Accountability Office, the number of Americans getting denied for loans, which includes mortgage, auto, and credit card, this is creeping up rapidly. And no shock, it's the 18 to 29 and 30 to 39-year-olds that are having the hardest time. The boomers are doing great. Good on them. And layoffs are absolutely rampant. Ford to lay off 1,600 workers. Citigroup is laying off 10% of their 240,000 employees. Could be more. In this article here, shipping giant to lay off 10,000. Not only does the 10,000 people being laid off have an impact on the economy as well, it really signals that demand for these outlets and these stores is dropping quickly. So what can you do as we approach the most expensive time of the year? Side gigs and monetization to the side. I saw this really good idea and I wish I could find the creator again. And she talked about going onto these Facebook community groups. And say, just for an example, you want a bike for a 10-year-old boy for Christmas. Let the community know that because there's likely someone that has one that's just sitting in their garage. And you might be able to get it for free or a really cheap price. Again, you have to post what you need or what you're looking for. Otherwise, no one's going to know and no one's going to be able to help you. It's just the harsh truth of the matter, but
my friend and I have actually been talking about this whole financial situation for over the last year. She saw this coming. And what is happening is the people that had purchased houses 3 years ago and they bought them at those super low interest rates, yeah, you're not going anywhere. But what's happening, at least in the state of Florida, is homeowners insurance is doubled and sometimes tripled for people if you live on the water. We had those major hurricanes. So everybody is paying for the damages that occurred. I have friends that live on the water. If they can even get insurance, they're looking at almost $20,000 a year. But 3 years ago, their policy was like $3,800. $3,800 in Florida on the water, at that time, that's nothing. That's not a big deal. Additionally, in my area, they just did a reassessment of all property values. So these are things that families can't save on. You can't make any adjustments. You can shop insurance all you want. I shopped insurance when my rates went up. And guess what? I have the cheapest rates. I was going to be paying even more if I had switched to the other two companies because I didn't have longevity with them. So on top of insurance costs and utilities going up, we also have food. Like, food's so much more expensive. They say it's 30% more, 20 to 30%. I really don't know. Thankfully, fuel has somewhat leveled out. Let me just go ahead and knock on some wood. But it's these expenses that are on the rise. I'm really just talking about the state of Florida. I don't know about the rest of the country because I'm not really paying attention to the rest of the country. But I have friends, like I just talked to a guy today that he said that his mortgage was $800 a month last year. And it is increasing to $1,200 this year. So if you make $56,000 a year, a $400 a month increase that you can't get rid of is really expensive. And that's how people are struggling. You're going to have to get an additional job or find another source of income or find a new job that pays you more. So I know this doesn't apply to the whole country, but a lot of this does apply to a lot of people, and especially Floridians.
College is so expensive and that students have so much debt. That's because of government. Before the government got involved, college was cheap. I mean, government drove up the cost of college by guaranteeing student loans. That's how the government got the votes of students. They promised the students something for nothing. They said, hey, vote for me and I'll make it easier for you to get a loan to go to college, right? Well, the minute colleges knew that people could get these loans, they started jacking up the tuition so they could benefit from all this government money. So the colleges benefited, the banking system benefited by making riskless loans that the taxpayer was on the hook for. But the byproduct of all this cheap money being funneled at the colleges was that the colleges kept raising the tuition higher and higher and higher. And then the politicians kept increasing the amount of loans they would subsidize. And so all of this is the fault of government. The government created the problem.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Excited are you?
I'm so excited.
Ready to go inside?
Yeah.
Let's do it. What do you think?
It's so preppy in here.
Is it just as preppy as you imagined?
Yes.
An average price of a driving lesson, how much do you think that was in 2000?
Tenner.
£17 a lesson.
30 quid, I'd say.
I wouldn't have said it quite as much as that. About 25, 15.
2023?
I pay like £35 a lesson.
It's about 45 quid a lesson now. I would go along with that, 45, yeah.
It's like 40 quid now, isn't it?
Yeah, so in 2000 it was £10 and then now it's 34, so it's gone up by 240%.
I know you'll be able. You open this truck up. I know you will. In the mighty name of Jesus. Open one of them doors. Open the door for me. Open the door, Hannah. Open up.
So I went to the market to buy foodstuffs. Amongst other things I bought, this is one of it, onion. Guess how much I bought this onion? Guess how much I bought this onion? 1,000 naira in Asabaye at the market. 1,000 naira for this onion. Something I will literally not buy before. Oh, like this kind of onion to do. 1,000 naira. Look at it. 1,000 naira. Let me even see how many. 3, 4, 5, 6. With this small tiny thing, 1,000 naira. 1,000 naira. So I think one is 200 naira now. Like let me say these two now. Small tiny things. 200, 400, 600, 800. Well, just look at it. 1,000 naira onion. Where are we going to in this country? Where are we going to in this country, for crying out loud? Where are we going to? Those of you that voted Baba. Those of you that voted Baba, oh, where are we going to? Please, anybody that is going to Cameroon should come and carry me. Oh. Please, anybody that is going to Cameroon should come and carry me. Look at it, 1,000 naira. I'm even zooming it. That's why you think it's big. Oh. It's very tiny. Look at it. This one is not even up to one finger. God will help us. Help us, oh God. If you are going to Cameroon, please, or Benin Republic, come and carry me. Put me inside your suitcase, please. Please, oh, I'm begging. Come and carry me. Put me inside your suitcase.
So at the shop this morning, beginning of the month, I always get my fuel bill. And I've talked a little bit before about the impacts of carbon taxes on absolutely everything you buy. So I'm a truck driver, I operate locally, I'm not even a high miler. But I thought I'd share with you today the implications of the carbon tax on the goods and services that you buy. Because ultimately, when I'm being billed for this, I'm passing it on to you, the end user. So I'm going to go through my bill. I'm not a big spender on fuel compared to many truckers. I'm actually pretty low. So you can extrapolate this out however you want to understand the impact. And remember that Canada is the only country in the world right now charging a carbon tax. We are being billed to solve the world's problem, and nobody else is solving them. Let's take a look at my bill. There's probably easier, more tech-savvy ways, but let's deal with it this simple way. So at the end of the day, I buy regular, clear diesel, dyed diesel, and diesel exhaust fluid. That's another emissions component. We'll talk about that at a later date. At the end of the day, I used 2,762 liters of fuel, and the total bill for my fuel was $3,402. Again, not a high miler. You'll notice that the bulk of it is right here. That is the clear diesel. Then there's a federal tax that goes on to the price of diesel. It's $118.56. So tax number one. Then there is a provincial tax, $223.46. Then there is the carbon tax, $462.69. Right here, carbon tax. So take your total, add your federal tax, then tax your provincial tax, then tax your carbon tax, and wait for it, there's more. Now we're going to put the GST on top of all the other taxes for a grand total of, I spent $3,402 in fuel, $4,700. So there is $1,365 worth of tax on a fuel. I'm sorry if you think my rates for trucking your equipment are too high. I'm sorry that it's expensive to buy groceries. But if you're not fighting back against the tax on tax on tax, this is insanity. We are literally being charged a tax on a tax, and you as the consumer are paying it all. Keep it classy, Canada.
You want some tea instead?
Which is the cheapest?
That's the one you want?
The one that's cheapest. Which is it?
It don't matter which one's cheapest, Grandma. Which one do you want?
Whichever one you get, that's one I'll drink some of it.
In my 31 years of living, I've never seen anyone grill bear legs. I have so many questions, like how did you get the bear? Is this an underground thing? Is this legal? What do you eat with bear legs? How do you season bear legs? How do you know how long to cook bear legs? How did you get the bear? Is this normal? Is there something I'm not aware of? Like, yo, I know groceries are so high. Like, I get it. Like, it's high, but you don't have to go hunting for a bird to get something to eat. Yo, please. We need to send this to the government and figure out what we need to do about these groceries, because this is getting bad.
You're not delusional. Previous generations did have it easier. This user goes on to say, my internship boss was talking about how he had to work in a mailroom to make ends meet during college, where he, quote, only made $6 an hour. And here's a reference. $6 in January 1980 has the same buying power as $18.73 in January 2017. I wanted to update these numbers. So I did. $6 in January 1980 has the same buying power as $23.28 in March of 2023. Working in a mailroom, back then you made the equivalent of $23.28 today. And how much has the minimum wage gone up? In 1980, the minimum wage was $3.10. In 2023, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. Since 1980, the federal minimum wage has gone up $4.25. Yet $1 in 1980 has the same buying power as nearly $4 in 2023. They wouldn't even know what bootstraps are.
I don't even have words to describe how this comment made me feel, but let me just point out that you're in the UK and you're speaking to a girl that lives in Florida, the highest inflated state in the USA at the moment. Just for you, just because you think I'm living beyond my means, let me go ahead and break down my budget step by step for you, starting with the essentials. Oh, and keep in mind that I do live with my boyfriend, so I only pay half of the bills. And this is on the income of 2 adults with no children. Imagine how hard this would be for a single mother. But I digress, right? Starting with rent, I pay $800. And there's my electricity bill, $100. My Wi-Fi, $30. My renter's insurance, which is required to live here, which is $15. Then there's my phone bill, because your phone is essential to most jobs, and that's about $130. Then there's my auto insurance, which is $320.
And then my auto payment, which is $340. Then of course there's gas. So only going to and from work will cost me at least $200 a month. Then there's essentials for my cats, cat litter, their food, etc., which would be at least $100 a month. And of course my food, which would be $250. And then on to the non-essential things. We have the miscellaneous thing that I've allotted myself for $100 for anything I may need during the month that isn't pre-budgeted. Feminine products, soap, conditioner, and then we have my loan and my credit payments, which equate to about $500, which is averaging out what most people pay in student loans. All that added together, and that's a bare bones budget. That's leaving no rooms for savings, health insurance, dental. That's absolutely no padding, and that costs $2,885 a month. So before taxes, I would be needing to make at least $19 an hour. And you have the audacity to come into my comment section and say, how about not living beyond our budgets? Arrogant. Arrogant as hell. I hope you have the day you deserve.